Erica here, and I'm back with part 2 of my giant book haul for no reason. Today I'm going to talk about kind of literary and general fiction, some short story collections, and some arcs I got via curious circumstances. So, I'm going to start with short stories because there are fewer of those. I read a few things from indie publishers recently, directly from their websites, just for the hell of it, because I had a gift card left over for my birthday in May, and I was like, screw it, I'm going to spend it, so I did. I got a short story collection published by Coffee House Press. This is Upright Beasts. These are stories by Lincoln Mitchell. I'm just kind of obsessed with the cover because it's kind of cool. And by kind of cool, I mean it's really fucking cool. And I don't know anything about these stories otherwise. I just know that they are kind of based on beasts and the many ways that that word can be taken, and I'm excited to read them. I got 2 little pamphlets from Origami Zoo Press. The first one is an elegy for mathematics, which are small stories by Anne Valente. Anne Valente wrote By Light We Knew Our Names, which I have not read yet, but I've heard really good things of, and I'm hoping that I got the title right. But these are really short stories. It's a really little pamphlet, and I believe that she kind of writes fabulous fiction, and I'm very excited to get into her work. This is just one story. It's a little pamphlet. This is Floater by Kate Bernheimer. The illustrations are by Noah Saderstrom, and Kate Bernheimer does a lot of work with kind of fairy tales and fairy tale retellings. Again, I've never read any of her work, so I thought this was a good way to kind of dip into her stuff. And this says, in Floater, Kate Bernheimer introduces us to Mike, a girl with a mysterious connection to a recent set of bridge suicides. With taut and lucid prose, we are taken through a day in Mike's life, from dreamless sleep to phone calls with no one on the other end, to the usual booth in the diner. So, I'm excited about this. Sounds like it's going to be fun. It's beautiful. It's hand-sewn on the edges. You can see that. And it's just a really beautiful book. The illustrations are really cool. So I'm excited to get into that. I also got 2 collections from Sarah Bondi. I believe is how you pronounce it, Sarah Bond Books. These are really intriguing to me. The first one is called Malafemina, and this is by Luisa Ermelino. This is apparently supposed to be amazing. It's been blurbed by Hanyana Gahira and Delia Ephron, so we'll see how it goes. Shortly after I bought this, and I bought it knowing basically nothing about it, but shortly after I bought it, I saw it in a bookstore on like a staff recommends table, so now I'm even more excited about it, but I can't wait to read these stories. I also got Transgressions by Sally Bingham, and what drew me to this is one of the blurbs on the back by Paula Fox that says, each of these fine, subtle stories begins with something a bit larger than a mustard seed. An apricot, a splinter in an old woman's foot, a pump, cherries, a vegetarian setting out on a deer hunt, and ends with a revelation of some aspect of the human landscape. So I'm really interested in this. Apparently these are very insightful stories and kind of hard-hitting, so I can't wait to read them. Let's talk about the advanced release copies that I got under curious circumstances. I have 3 arcs here, and none of them did I request from publishers, and I knew nothing about any of them until they were in my hands. There's a bookstore that I go to when I go on vacation in Asheville, which is where I purchase most of these books. And if you spend over a certain amount of money, they like lead you to this bookshelf behind the counter where they have all of the advanced proof copies that either like the booksellers themselves don't want or don't have time to read, and you're allowed to like take as many as you want because you can't resell arcs, and I guess they assume that way they're not going to waste, which is cool. So I have in my hand some things that do not yet exist. And I don't know that much about any of these, but I'm going to try my best to tell you about them. The first is actually a piece of journalism. It's called A Simple Story. It's by Leila Guerriero, and she goes to an Argentine village called Laborde, and every year in that village they hold the National Malambo Contest, which is a kind of guacho dance. It's a really intense dance contest, and after she goes there one year, she becomes obsessed with one of the dancers, and she follows him around for a year as he prepares to compete in the next competition. She's not stalking him, she's like studying him for this piece of journalism. This was actually published in 2013, but is just now being translated to English by Francis Riddle, and I'm really interested in this. I just picked it up because it looked cool, and the cover's kind of cool. And then when I read what it was about, I was like, yes, please. It's tiny, and it's a topic I know literally nothing about, so I'm interested to enlighten myself. The next one I picked up, coincidentally, is also by an Argentinian author, and this is Savage Theories. It's not scheduled to be published until 2017, I think in January. It's scheduled to be published in January. And this is by Paula Oloy-Zarak, is I believe how you say the last name. Translated by Roy Kessie, and both the book and the translation are going to be published in 2017. So I'm really excited about this. I believe it's a campus novel, and it's about a variety of characters on a campus and kind of how their worlds intertwine. It says it's a novel of seduction and madness, hate and love, set in the world of Argentinian academia and animated by the spirits of Wittgenstein, Rousseau, Nabokov, and Bolaño. So I think it's like very philosophical in nature. The description a little bit reminds me of The Secret History by Donna Tartt, but without kind of the mystery element to it. So we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to reading it. The last one I picked up is an upcoming sci-fi novel. It is a space opera called The Wanderers by Meg Howry. I do believe that I've seen this around a little bit, and this is not going to be published until March of 2017, but it's about a group of astronauts who are trying to be selected for the first journey to Mars, and they are put through like a very rigorous simulation environment. Apparently there's like this difference between reality and unreality. So the more I'm talking about it, the more I realize it's not really a space opera, but it's like some bizarre science fiction. I'm really excited about it, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so those are my weird arcs. Now I have a bunch of novels. Alright, the first one I have is Irlanda. I just talked about this in my most recent wrap-up. This is by Espito Freire, and it's translated from the Spanish by Toshaya Kami. This is about a young girl named Natalia who travels to the countryside in Spain to stay with her cousins for the summer after her sister passes away, and it's about their summer together and how they get along. This narrator, Natalia, is quite an unreliable narrator. She's a little crazy, and she can see dead spirits and things of that nature. So it's got this kind of mystery element to it. I really thoroughly enjoyed this, and I gave it 5 stars, so I highly, highly recommend this. This, by the way, is published by Fairy Tale Review Press, and it was wonderful. And the cover, I mean, it's stunning, so can't go wrong there. I picked that up on a complete whim. I ended up absolutely adoring it. At a used bookstore, I picked up Sula by Toni Morrison. This is kind of the next of her novels that I want to read. I've read 3, I think, so far. And this is about 2 women who, as very young children, formed this really fierce bond. They're very inseparable, very devoted to each other, like the best of friends. Even as they continue to grow up into women, they stay friends, and then there's this unforgivable betrayal, apparently, and they have to work out whether or not their friendship is going to survive it. Totally interested, totally intrigued. Love Morrison, so I'm sure it's going to be excellent. This is kind of timely in a very sad way. As I said, was recently in Asheville. Last time when I was at the same bookstore in Asheville, I bought The Women of Brewster Place by Gloria Naylor, and ended up reading it shortly thereafter and really loved it. This time while I was there, I found a used copy of The Men of Brewster Place by Gloria Naylor, and the reason that I say that this is kind of timely is because Gloria Naylor actually passed away yesterday, which is very sad because she was an incredible, incredible person and an incredible writer. So, that's very sad, but I picked this up, which is about the men behind the women in The Women in Brewster Place, For those of you who aren't aware, The Women of Brewster Place is it's kind of a novel told through short stories, and it's about this one street and these women who live there in an impoverished neighborhood, and kind of the tragedies of their lives. And this book is set up in a similar way, but it's about the men that are causing the women in most of the story's cases so much anguish and distress. So I'm really interested to get into this. I'm probably going to do a reread of The Women of Brewster Place first, and then read this, and then read everything else Gloria Naylor has ever written. Things that are not sad are more books. I bought The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivey. This I've heard so many things about, and I'm really excited to read it, and it's just kind of that time of year. I've been really just waiting for it to be winter for me to read it, so soon, very soon. And I just recently sent in a request and got accepted for a review copy of her new book. So I want to read this one first, though. This is set in Alaska in 1920s, and it is about Jack and Mabel, who are a married couple, and they're kind of struggling both individually and as a couple. And then they build a child out of snow, and the snow child comes to life. So I've heard really nothing but wonderful things about this, and I can't wait to read it. A book that's been on my radar for a little while and mostly caught my attention because of the amazing cover is Umami by Laia Jufresa. I recently read an interview between Laia Jufresa and Valeria Luiseye, who is the author of The Story of My Teeth, which I really enjoyed recently. And that just piqued my interest in it even more. So when I saw this, I just kind of had to pick it up. You know how it goes. It's, like I said, it's really stunning. And there's another edition as well that's also really beautiful. I just couldn't decide which one was better, but I like this colorful one, I think. For this one, I'm going to read you the blurb because it's a very well-written blurb, and it's what immediately drew me to this book, other than the cover. Deep in the heart of Mexico City, where 5 houses cluster around a sun-drenched courtyard, lives Anna, a precocious 12-year-old still coming to terms with the mysterious death of her little sister years earlier. Over the rainy, smoggy summer, she decides to plant a vegetable garden in the courtyard, and as she digs the ground and plants her seeds, her neighbors in turn delve into their past. As the ripple effects of grief, childlessness, illness, and displacement saturate their stories, secrets seep out and questions emerge. Who was my wife? Why did my mom leave? Can I turn back the clock? And how could a girl who knew how to swim drown? So this is kind of, there are 5 different voices, I believe, and they kind of come together to tell the story, not only of Anna and her sister who drowned, but of kind of the town in general. So I'm very excited about this. And I almost forgot to mention that this was translated from Spanish by Sophie Hughes. About the Glorious Heresies by Lisa McInerney, I believe is how you say it. I'm probably very wrong. I've been really intrigued by this book ever since it was nominated for the Bailey's Prize for Fiction, or the Women's Prize for Fiction, whatever you want to call it. And this is about a bunch of young people who are kind of misfits and live on the fringe of society in Ireland, and I can't wait to get into it because I've heard really superb things. I ordered the UK edition because the cover's like 27 times better than the US, per usual. I also purchased Adult Onset. This is by Anne-Marie MacDonald. Anne-Marie MacDonald is the author of one of my favorite books of all time, which is Fall on Your Knees. She is a Canadian author, and I'm so excited about this book. This is a story about a lesbian couple, Rose and Hillary, and both of them are very into their careers, but they're also trying to raise children and have aging parents and are trying to achieve kind of that work-life balance. I'm really excited about this. Anne-Marie MacDonald, the thing I love about Fall on Your Knees is the way she portrays family life and the way that she portrays characters and relationships between family members, like, with the most perfect detail ever. So I'm sure that this is going to be absolutely amazing. I bought a book that I've been meaning to buy for a very, 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 very long time. Like, this has been on my Goodreads wish list for, like, since I started Goodreads. And this is A Long, Long Time Ago and Essentially True by Bridget Pasulka. This I'm interested in because I just am. I don't know. I've just been meaning to buy it forever, and so I finally bought it. It's about a couple in Poland on the eve of World War II who fall in love, and then the war arrives, and the relationship abruptly ends. And then nearly 50 years later, their granddaughter repeats the journey, but instead of the whispered prosperity of the new Poland, she discovers a city caught between its future and its past. I'm really interested in books about Poland because I am of Polish descent. And while Bridget Basuka she does not live in Poland, she is also the daughter of Polish immigrants. So I think that's what originally drew me to it, and I'm just going to read it. It should be great. It sounds like it's going to be kind of a fast-paced, emotional story, so I'm excited about that. From Coffee House Press, I recently bought The Revolutionaries Try Again, which is by Mauro Javier Cardenas. It is set in Ecuador, and the beginning of the blurb says, extravagant, absurd, and self-aware, The Revolutionaries Try Again plays out against the lost decade of Ecuador's austerity and the stymie idealism of three childhood friends, an expat, a bureaucrat, and a playwright, who are as sure about the evils of dictatorship as they are unsure of everything else, including each other. This has just recently been published, and it's one of those books that was really hyped up for this year, so I'm very excited about it. I like reading books kind of about the politics of Latin America, even in novel form, because that's something that I studied a little bit in college, so it's very intriguing to me. All right, only two more. I bought The Hour of the Star by Clarice Lispector. So I've been eyeing the complete short stories by Lispector since it came out. It's a beautiful book. The thing is, I have not read any of her work. For those of you who don't know, she is like Brazil's most famous short story author, and apparently everything she touches just turns to gold. But this is her novel, or novella, and it is about a character whose name I can't pronounce because it's in Portuguese, who lives in the slums of Rio, is underfed, sickly, and unloved, yet inwardly free. It's supposed to be amazing. This edition was translated by Benjamin Moser, and I just can't wait to dip into her work so that I can maybe justify buying that gorgeous, gorgeous book of her complete stories. Last one, I promise. This has been like the rambliest video ever. I feel like I can't make a coherent thought or even say words. I am so out of practice on BookTube. All right, last one though. This is Beauty is a Wound by Eka Kurniawan. I really could I have chosen books with authors with harder to pronounce names than I did? I don't think I could have. This book is set in Indonesia, and it's kind of an epic, multi-generational narrative about the beautiful Indo prostitute Dewe, her daughters, and her grandchildren, who are beset by incest, murder, bestiality, rape, and the often fiercely vengeful undead. I've heard that this book is going to ruin me. I love multi-generational narratives. This one sounds like it's going to be a little bit tough to swallow, but I have really heard amazing things from everyone I know who has read this, so I'm really excited to read it. And when I was checking out the bookstore, one of the booksellers was like, oh my god, I'm so excited you bought that book. I read that book like 4 years ago, and it's still my favorite book ever. So hopefully I love it. Okay, that's it. I'm done rambling. I don't even know what I just said for the last 20 minutes. I'm sorry. But these are some books I bought, and I'm back on BookTube. Yay! If you have any questions about any of these, or have read any of them and would like to talk about them, or whatever, we can do that in the comments, and I will see you all next time. Bye!